Hi everyone, my name is King Ivy, and this is a workshop on how to perform text analytics using IDEA and Tableau. So I pulled a bunch of Twitter data using this website called scraperwiki.com, and I'll provide a link below. I have a subscription version, but they do have a 30-day trial, which is pretty good, especially if you only want to obtain a little bit of data, like a week or so or a couple of days. If you're looking for more, then you'll probably have to go to the other options that are a bit more expensive. So what I have here is 22 Jump Street just came out this weekend. So what I did was I pulled data from today, which I believe it goes from about 1 o'clock today to about 2:30, so like an hour and a half worth of data. And then what you'll see here, all this Twitter data has the unique identifier, has the Twitter URL, has the username, the status, etc., etc. When it was created, the actual tweet, so it's called text, the language, number of retweets, number of favorites, the username, well, at least their screen name, if it's in reply to anything, if there's a link, so there's an Instagram one, any user mentions, so a lot of these are going to be of the actors in the movie, and then the hashtag use. So I did search by hashtag 22 Jump Street, and then you can see the query I used here. So that's all good. And then what else I pulled up here? What other data sets I have? So it lets me load it. Is I have these list of words, and then I put what I call the sentiment, so how people feel about those words. So I have both positive and negative words. So these are a list of negative ones, and then here are some of the positive ones. So what I have here is I have about 8,400 words. Most of them are negative. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up IDEA. Let's get started. There are a lot of tools out there, but I do want to show you how you can perform it using creating a makeshift one using whatever analytics tools that you currently have. So I'm going to call this Jump Street Twitter Analytics. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move my 22 Jump Street to the appropriate file folder. So we go to My Documents, and then we go to My Idea Documents, we go to Projects, and we'll go to Jump Street Twitter Analytics. Put this into the file. And then what I'm going to do here is I've already created the macro because it would have taken me very long to record creating the macro, so I've created it ahead of time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through each of the lines of code to understand how to perform it. So over here, I don't even actually have to import the data. All I have to actually do is, because I've placed my macro in the macro folder, it's automatically going to default there. So I highly recommend you leverage your tools there. So once it loads, so whenever it's in green, that means it's comments, which means that the macro is not going to read it. So what you see here, Twitter sentiment analysis created by myself this month, and telling you what how you should rename your file. So this is going to import a file called so I do have to name my file a certain name, which is not a problem. I do have to name it tweets, I believe. Let me just verify that. I'll verify with another project I just completed. Yeah, I do have to name it tweets. Because it's going to import the file named tweets. I could have created and had it import any document, but it's quite alright. So I'm going to go back to projects, go back to Jump Street Twitter Analytics. rename this that. Perfect. And then make sure that the worksheet name is also called tweets, which it is. Perfect. So we go up here with this main section here. This top section right here is just like the setup of the file. I like to put the description, any notes, when it was created, who you can contact, etc. And then this, what this first sub is this is very similar to Visual Basic well, it's based off Visual Basic. It's very similar to Excel, like if you use Excel Visual Basic. And in fact, when I troubleshoot, I usually troubleshoot using searching what I would do in VBA in Excel. So what you have here is like call functions. So you'll see call function deleting, and you just call, there's a function down here, you just put bracket, and then you'll see deleting the original file so the file can run smoothly. Because if I didn't have this, then I would have to say, are you sure you want to save over this file, etc. This is where I import the documents. This is where I define a unique identifier and start normalizing the tweets. Because there's a lot of like junk data within the tweets, and I want to perform true sentiment analysis and eliminate as many variables as possible. So what I have here is I have variable equal to 0, and what this does is this allows me to perform a counter and allow me to, for example, you'll see later on when I go through the actual script. And then what I have here is I've defined a variable, so I have dim I as integer, make it an integer. And this what it allows me to do is create a loop. So for I equals 1 to 50. So basically it's going to repeat, start at 1, repeat to 50, and then it's going to call and create these, run these two functions 50 times. And then I'm going to combine all 50 tables that are created. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to join it back, because what I have here, when I extract it, I only extract the original tweet, the normalizing ID I created, and the word that was extracted. And what I have here is basically I take the tweet, identify any spaces, and say that's the new word. And then that way I can identify each of the individual words. So then I'm going to join all the words with the original details. So like the user, the URL, any mentions, favorite counts, etc. And then what I have here is I join it with the word bank to actually perform the sentiment analysis. And then I export all the details. So let's go through the script really quickly for each of these functions. So this first function is deleting. So I call the DB name, and then it's going to delete these are basically all the databases I created. And the beautiful part is that as long as you've normalized your Excel names, it should run quickly on any analysis. And then what I have here is that because these are like IDEA files, IMDs, these are like IDEA databases, I have an export here. So basically, I create a variable called a file, make it a string, and this is the string, so where they find it, and it says if the file directory of this is greater than 0, so that means the file exists, then kill it, otherwise just end it. So if it doesn't exist, then it's not going to do anything. And then what I have here, I've imported it, so I have this file name. I'm going to set a task to import it. It's going to be importing an Excel document and perform all the background procedures that are embedded with importing an Excel document. And then I have the sheet name, so that's why it's important to know what the sheet name is. You might be able to like set up some variables, but I find it just easier to just normalize it. And we can cover that in another workshop. And this is where I import the word bank file. And then here's where I start defining some fields. So I define ID, and you'll see a little bit why. So basically, just trailing basically gives me all the numbers at the end of the tweet URL, which is the original ID. And then what I do is I have create a field called tweet normalize. So you'll see here, there's text right here, and basically I remove like things like dashes, periods, commas, number signs, semicolons, periods, character 34s, double quotation, all these random characters that are in there. And then what I did here is I split the tweet into 50 different tables. right? So basically, I have this counter. So when it starts, it's going to be 0, and then it's going to be 0 plus 1. So it's going to be 1 here. And the field name is going to be called field 1. And then I'm going to use this function called simple split, which basically splits it. And then I'm going to look for this variable is really just number. So basically, look at the first segment when it's the first time it's running through. Look for the second segment, etc. Make the length 20, make it a character. And then here is where I extract it. So then you have the variable again when you run through it. And then I have these various functions. So what I have here is I won't export it if it's blank, right? Because that doesn't make sense to export it when it's blank. And as well, and then won't export it if it's like certain words, like these more common words. So you'll say like is, be, there, whatever. So I won't export it if it's all these common words. The one that may not be common is like RT, but that just basically means retweet. And the reason why I do this, one, you might want to do this for a couple reasons. One is to remove all the junk data or like non-important, doesn't really tell you the mood or whether or not it was a good or bad tweet. Second thing is that the version of IDEA that I use, because I'm using the education version, actually has a 10,000 line limit. So it actually limits the number of lines I can perform. But if you do have like a larger, if you're analyzing 1 million tweets, you definitely want to put on some filters so that your file sizes are a bit smaller, allows you to, do the analysis a little bit more thoroughly. And then this is where I append all the tables together. So the primary table is going to be tweet 1, and then basically adding all these tables below from the extract. And this is where I join it back with the table. So the original table, join, where do I want to join it from? I want to join it back. Join the original tweet table with all these additional fields to include, how I'm matching it based off of ID, etc. And then all in the primary, so keep all the original records. And this is where I do some more normalization, just basically eliminating any spaces. And then here's where I join the tweets, the words of the tweets with the sentiment analysis. And then I create a score. So I give it a score of 1 if it's a positive word, and so a negative 1 if it's negative, and then 0 if it's neutral. And then I export it all the way to this. So I'm gonna press play and let's see it run. So right now it's importing, so it's running through the various commands. And right now it's gonna do the 50 extraction. So this is gonna take a little bit of time. I probably didn't need to do 50. I probably could have got away with doing less, but it's not a problem. Because it's 140 characters, how many words can you realistically fit in 140 characters? Probably not more than like 30 or 40. In extreme cases, 50, but even if we get to 50 word tweet, there's probably less ability to actually analyze that tweet for. So this is a very basic analytic. Basically, it's looking at the words and giving it a score of positive or negative. There are more where you can look for like natural language, trends across different languages. But this is a good start to start performing analytics across your more text-based information. So if you think about tweets are a good one, emails, etc., depending on what kind of function you perform. And this is also going to run faster depending if you're running IDEA server, IDEA desktop. So I am using IDEA, I believe like 9.1, 9.2, I can't remember the exact one. So should be getting close to, this is the bulk of the analysis. So you can imagine like if you were like Procter and Gamble, for example, you want to analyze all your various products, that this could actually be pretty time consuming, but then you offset it through having faster servers, using different tools, but this is a decent tool to use. So right now it's appending the databases. So all databases together. Now it's showing the tables, indexing, joining. So it's always going to index both files depending whether you put ascending or descending. And the annoying part about IDEA, unfortunately, is that you have to press refresh. And I'm not sure why it doesn't update by itself when you run these macros, but it is what it is. So what you have here is now we have this bunch of various tweets, and then what we have here is the final table is this tweets with sentiments. So if we go to the very end, what you'll see here is that you'll have sentiment and then you have sentiment score. So let's just filter here. A lot of these are gonna be blank because they're very like neutral words. So you see like all the positive words like work, support, super, ready, recommend, hilarious. I think hilarious is one of the most popular words. Obviously, you have to change your word database depending on type of movie. It might have been crazy as in like it's crazy good or whichever. Then you have all these like junk words, mainly because like different languages, or like these are like more general words like year, yesterday, misspelling yesterday, or like misspelling of words. So I try to remove some of these, but some of them you just have to leave in, just because that's the nature. A lot of like URLs, you may be able to take those out because you do have a link. So some decent ones, and then what you'll see here is now when you go to your export folder, you have this file right here, which is basically the table. So I'm going to use Tableau. I am using Tableau 8.2, which I know is in beta, but it's going to be very similar to Tableau 8.1 and all that stuff. So I'm going to press, go to Excel, and then I'm going to go to Jump Street Twitter Analytics. Connect. A lot of fields here, so might be a little bit slower on my computer, but not a problem. And what really Tableau is, I'm sure if you watch other videos on this channel, Tableau is a visualization software. So what you see here, you have a little preview of the file here. I'm just going to go to worksheet. And then you have like dimensions and measures. So dimensions are like strings, characters, etc. And then measures are things that you would actually add together. So I'm just going to normalize some of the things. So right here, this is longitude. It didn't seem to pick it up, so I'm going to default it there. So we're going to create a couple graphs here. So the first one I like to create is, let's see what kind of words actually show up in this. So let's go by sentiment score. Let's go here, and then let's go to text. So you can see there's going to be a lot of words here. And what I want to do here, actually I have to set this up a little bit differently. I have to create this so I can create this bin. So now I have this filter right here. Actually, no, I can just go to sentiment, and all I want is where it's negative and positive. I don't really care whether or not it's if it's neutral. So you can see like all the greens are where it's positive score, and let's change it from the color. Let's leave the color as whether or not it's positive or negative, and then let's change it the size to the actual number of records, so the actual number of tweets. So let's throw that in there. So right here, so you'll see all the various words. So that's an interesting graphic. So let's call that text visual. Let's open a new one. And then what I like to see is like where are the tweets coming from. So let's map this. And then let's throw this into the details. So that what I just threw in was the ID, so each of the individual tweets. And then what I like to do here is you can drop in the sentiment score, make it colors, and then make pie charts, and then expand the pie charts. And then these colors aren't really that great because you can't really tell. Just make these a little bit smaller. And then what I'm going to do here, color, I'm going to edit color, change it to a different palette. I like something like, your standard red, yellow, green. And then we can roughly see, based off this map, where all the tweets come from across the world. So you can see, I think it's Malaysia. See, pardon my ignorance with that. And then here, this is going to be 0, just because like sometimes we weren't given the tweet location. We can filter that out, but it's not really going to make that big a difference. So not too worried about it. You can see in the UK, all over the US, parts of Canada, I think this is Montreal, whether or not they actually found it negative, positive, based off of our word analytics. So let's call this geographic visual. Let's create another one. So I'm always interested in seeing when things are created. So we have this field right here. It looks like a date and time, so that's interesting. So we actually, if we were gonna create a field, we're gonna go at created time, and we're gonna use this function called left, which is basically, if we actually looked at the first 19 characters give us the date and time, and then we're going to use this function called DateTime. Very straightforward. Right, and it's going to convert the field, give us a new field, which is going to be the date and time. So I'm going to throw that up on there, and then we're going to do this drop-down list. Let's change it to the minute, because we don't have that many records. And then you can see the various tweets at various times. And then just add a little bit of color here. And throw a bit of color. And then what you'll see here is when it's green, when it's red, is when it's positive and negative, roughly. And then I'm going to call this tweets over time. So that's all very interesting. You can play around with a few things like mentions, and there's a lot of good data here. Even languages, that might be a good one. Like what language, the sentiment scores. Actually, this is kind of misleading, so let's put it on average. So you can see the averages and positives and where they like it and where they don't. So that's good. I can also throw on like number of records, just for the sake of it. Throw on like a dual axis. Make this a line chart. Make this a bar chart. You can see there's a lot of tweets from. You can also add a little bit of these bullet points to actually see where the endpoints are. So you can see there's a lot of the tweets are people that have language English, and that's not overly surprising. One, because ScriptWiki does use my account to actually pull down the tweets, so it may be biased based off of that and the number of information that's actually pulled. It's not a problem. So now let's create a dashboard. Very simple dashboard, so we can play around. I'm just going to drop all these here, and I'm actually going to change this to automatic just so I can see it all fit on my screen. And then we're going to throw on tweets over time. And then I like having show title. And then we can throw this on. Throw these graphics here. Actually, we're just going to hide these titles. sentiment score buckets. Change this to number of tweets. And even title, make this a little bit nicer. You can obviously change around, make it a little bit nicer, etc. So what you'll see here, and then you can do one last thing, create some dashboard actions, really simple stuff. Obviously, if this is more of a client deliverable, you should do a bit more. What you can do here, so you can do things like, okay, so I saw there's a lot of tweets here, like where were they coming from, and then you can see where they were coming from, what words are actually getting spit out, right? That looks good. And then we're going to call this Jump Tree Twitter Analytics. And then you can show this to your client or do some analysis, and very simple stuff, very simple analytics. Very, I know it took about 27 minutes, but since I created a macro, and once you create this dashboard, you can edit your connection, put it to a new file, and then do that analysis all over again. Actually, I did create one already for, actually, I'll say that for another workshop. So very simple, very quick analytics, really, obviously really basic text analytics, but really good intro on how you can analyze text and really dive into it, perform some sentiment analysis and all that good stuff. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next workshop. Thank you. Have a good day.